Mike Pumper from the United States, Lucille, I'm guessing Stockholm, Jean-Baptiste Quillon from Switzerland, Gro from Oslo, Greg Finzer from Columbus, Ohio, Gerard Duits from the Netherlands, Frank Pacou from Toulouse, Darren Baker calling in from Seattle, Dag Peterson from Sweden, Cloud Kuhn working at home in Paris, Cloud Bamberger, probably also in Switzerland, a couple of phone callers who remain anonymous for now, Andreas, you never know where he is, but I'm guessing Stockholm today, Menno is dialing in from Utrecht, and Charlie is probably in Paris.
Sounds so good. You're really good, like a television program.
Yes, you noticed I'm trying to fill up some space here while you were uploading your presentation. Everybody can see right through that, but so Menno, give us an update. Is anything happening on your end?
I'm trying to share my desktop.
Okay.
I've installed stuff. Now he says, no, it's not working.
All right. Are the visuals essential for what you want to talk about? Could you just run us through your talk using your slides as a guide and just have a discussion and still take us along? Because there's a couple of people on the phone anyway. So in the meanwhile, you can send your presentation or your PDF to me, and I can try to upload it while you are talking so that we at least get started, and then I'll try to figure technology in the meanwhile. Or Greg is suggesting here that you just send the deck to everybody in SogetiLabs. That could work too.
I can't do it at the same time. That's the problem. So what do you want, Eric? Do you want me to just talk? Then it will be a sort of a conference call meeting. So
I would like you to. So in my ideal world, you would now send either the PDF or the PowerPoint to me. And then right after you've done that, you can start talking using your slides as to then start the conversation. And meanwhile, I will try to upload your presentation while you are talking.
Let me see. I will send you the PDF.
This is why you never do live things on television.
No, it could.
So, have you sent your deck?
Sorry?
Have you sent me your deck?
I'm doing it now.
Okay. Meanwhile, we have 20 people online, 4 on the phone, 7 people are unmuted, so they're ready to go.
Entry and exit chimes are off.
I've disabled the dings for people who join and leave us so that we don't get interrupted by dings the whole time.
Okay, it's coming. Sending it now. So meanwhile, that I've sent you, I just start my talk, okay?
Exactly. Yes, go ahead.
So this is all about the fourth report and the final one on the Internet of Things. called Smacked in the City. And it's just fun to let you know that when we count the downloads of the reports, I'm not sure that you're aware of the figures of the downloads, but we are around 25,000 downloads of the first 3. So that's really nice. So since we've been doing reports, we also being able to get a bigger audience, at least reach a larger audience. Now the city one, the last one, can be applied to whatever a smart city should do or could be. So we've looked in the second report, for instance, on empathic things, more on the human behavioral side. That's a strong message. In the first one, we looked at this concept of waste reduction in a holistic way, with lots of examples, also already of some of the cities. So that's an important message from the first one. So you can reduce waste in many different ways. And the fourth one on the industrial side is a lot to do about predictions, making predictions. So I think the 3 ones already give some nice start for the fourth, called Smacked in the City. Now, I would like to start with an interesting quote saying that internet has changed our lives, but not yet our cities. Yet, then we should add that. And that quote comes from the chief architect from the city of Barcelona. Not an IT architect as we know it, but an architect on the real life side, so the buildings, etc. And I found this.
Can I interject you for a second? Maybe not everybody is aware of how these reports are created, where they're from, and why you are now talking about them. So maybe you can sketch a little bit of context, what type of reports these are, and why it's interesting to talk about them in this call.
So can you explain, Eric, what do you mean with the question? So in general, what we do with reports, I think different things. So one could be defining a vision on a certain topic and drive interaction with our customers. That's another one. Are you looking for these kind of things, Eric?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure that everybody's aware that there have already been 3 reports out on Internet of Things, okay, how people use them and what they can do with them. And I think this call is so that SogetiLabs fellows and members can know about these reports. So that's one, that we simply know that it's there. And then secondly, that we know the content of this, especially this first report, so that we as SogetiLabs people can sort of speak to this topic. So I would invite people to listen to your introduction, not just as, hey, this is a funny, good story, but also as an introduction to how you can then use this report in discussion and dialogue with your customers. And I think that's at the end of your presentation, we want to talk a little bit about is how, if and how we can use this towards our customers. So that a little bit of context may be interesting to provide when talking about this. Secondly, I can tell you that the presentation is now up, so hopefully everybody can actually see it. So sorry for that interruption. Menno, by all means, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think that's helpful, Eric. So going back to, so the same accounts maybe for the Internet of Things. I'm not sure. So I think everybody has heard about the topic. I will not go to the basics, but start it off from the city perspective. So coming from this expression saying that the internet has changed our lives, but not our cities, it's interesting to just give you 3 examples of how huge new technologies how potentially new technologies can change our city, just to have a better idea on that. And I just want to give 3 of them. And the first one is about drones. Everybody knows drones. Everybody has, well, many of you probably heard about all the activities around that. Some say it will never happen. Amazon and Google are saying it's certainly going to happen. But when drones are starting to deliver stuff to the cities, it can really change the way, well, at least the way we look at the cities. If you look up and you see all kinds of drones, that's a possibility. Or drones being used instead of other types of transport. There are even talks about delivering pizza drones. In the Netherlands, there's a drone in the news last week about that could save people's lives, so being on the spot earlier than an ambulance, for instance. So just to give you, if this is going to happen, what will it do with the cities? Second one is autonomous driving, and I like the truck driving vehicles coming from Mercedes, for instance. So just imagine if we're not driving a car anymore ourselves, but the machines and Google and Audi, and they're all working on it, how it could change the city. We all probably are aware of how much a role a normal car plays in the city today, but it certainly has played an important role how cities developed in the past. Now, from this concept of driverless cars, you can also imagine that you don't need to park your car. Your car can drive home after it has dropped you off on your at work or another place to go. The trucks driverless can change anything, can change a lot in the logistic systems. So this is also a future of the cities, and it's all about connecting and in making everything intelligent. And the third one is one I really fell in love with a little bit is let's call it beacon technology. So the possibility that things in the city, especially shops, can connect to you through your phone, knowing that there's a person close to you. If it's connected with a card, it also knows who you are. And imagine that you walk through a street where you have a experience quite different than today, where the shop owners are able to connect to you and invite you to come in. Okay, it can become a nightmare because your phone is constantly buzzing. Yes, but the other way around, if there's a solution to find for that issue, then the real experience can be different. Plus the recovery of cities where shops are empty or they leave the city because everybody's shopping online. You can be online in the city or I don't know how to call it, on or offline, but it will be a totally different experience. So that beacon technology is given as an example also in the report. So 3 possible changes of cities caused by technology, and that's why we love to talk about SMACT in the cities: the social, the mobile, analytics, and cloud, and things coming together. We also like smart, but smart tends to forget the important role of technology and the processes of adoption of the technology. It takes a lot for granted that everything will become smart without really knowing what smart is. And we think it's even more interesting to just talk about the technology and the interaction and the acceptance of the technology. So that's why we talk about a change and a tipping point. We project 2020 as a possible tipping point for the Internet of Things. So the things, there are anything between 50 and 100 billion connected things. And we have seen the other ones, cloud coming in 2016, a prediction of a 2 billion revenue spent on cloud. Analytics could be 2012, that's behind us. Mobile, 2008, the smartphone, and social 2004. So, and there's a graph in the report about that. So on the one hand, we say, okay, it's yet to come because these things are and sensors are now coming to the market, and they're now changing, beginning to change at least parts of our lives, and that should be taken into account. So it's coming. We haven't. Internet has changed our lives. It hasn't changed our cities yet, but it will. In the coming decade, we will see the start of that. That's all clear, Eric. I'm talking to you.
Yep.
So coming from that, addressing what a smart city is very difficult. If you can see the slide on the PDF I've sent you, there's a group of cities that say, okay, there's a few sorts of smartness. It's about caring, security, less regulation, it's about learning, etc. So that's very interesting, but it's quite a lot. And we took another take on smart cities and put them in three groups and said, okay, if you want to know how people look at smart cities, and there's a lot of research done, then let's look at three concepts to better understand what a smart city is. And from each of these, we give some examples. And we start with a very interesting one called City in a Box, which is quite the idea that you can order a city in a box and just put it somewhere. And there's examples. It's called Masdar City, for instance, and New Songdo in Korea. It's a very expensive solution. It's a way to create smart cities. You will have to pay 20 billion or 40 billion. That's how expensive these cities are. But at least you could also say it's very interesting from an experiment side to see what happens. Do they work? What the responses are? And you can imagine if you have a green field, it's a lot easier to create driverless cars than to do that in the city of New York, for instance. So that's one taste, a city in a box. And there are in China, they are really looking very serious at these possibilities. So they order a city and you can build them anywhere you want. The second concept is called SENSEABLE cities. That's coming from MIT, also very interesting. That perspective is like
all
this.
attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
Just put sensors everywhere. That's what MIT is saying. And then look at MIT, and he's made a very interesting proof of concept. So he's put all these sensors in the city caps or in New York, and then he made calculations saying that from all the data points he has seen, that it's quite easy to realize to take a cab together, because he can see when you took a cab and someone else very close by going to the same destination. And from that calculations, he is creating new models, or hoping to create new models, interfaces to solve that kind of solution. Sensible cities, a combination of senses and being able to sense. It's part of the future of the Internet of Things in cities. And the third one is called City as a Platform. I think that's very nicely related to how we could look at these possibilities, like our SogetiLabs, so to say, where you can imagine a platform, and we made a sketch of that on the top, where you see the real city, the real life, the physical part. Then there's an API level, and then when you go down, there's the infrastructure. There's a lot of talk about platform economies, and there's a lot of ways to look at these platforms being able to change the city. One of them could be Uber, for instance, connecting cars. Uber is also opening up their APIs and creating new platforms for transportation. So that's the third one. So from these three tastes, that's what we actually do. We describe what it is to get a better understanding, give examples, and then we come to some conclusions, and you will find them in the report itself, of course. And I would like to address three of them. Then the first one is really to understand that sensing is still in its infancy, which is there's a lot of potential to be opened up. So yes, we ain't seen nothing yet. That's the message. The second one is about the fact that consumers decide the pace of the smartness of a city. So as soon as consumers decide when to buy a driverless car, or when to buy solar systems with sensors, etc., then it will speed up. And it's really important to understand that you and I and the individuals still play a key role, which sometimes is not a lot of discussed when you read stuff on smart cities. In a lot of the smart city stuff, the individual is just someone at the background. And the third one I would like to address is the fact that the vertical boundaries are fading. So it's because of the possibilities of the technology, it's becoming very difficult to say what business are you in when you're changing the city. If you create new platforms, what's this new platform doing? And I think that's a very interesting one, but also a very difficult one to understand, that the old verticals that we've all worked with and which are all in IT systems, they're now doing a lot of crossovers. So that's the 1, 2, 3 conclusions I would like to share with you. And the rest you can read in the report yourself.
Cool. So, great short introduction. I hope that people don't think that they now don't need to read the report. So first invitation is please read the report so that you know what type of things we actually put out there. There's one question that I think is interesting to discuss, is what is Sogeti doing right now actively to be part of this market? And I'm sure, Menno, you have an idea about this, but maybe others on the call as well. So if you have an idea about this, perhaps you want to unmute yourself. Let me see if I can unmute everybody at the same time. No, I can't do that. Maybe I can. Anyway, but maybe, Menno, you can give an idea of what Sogeti is doing, what you know that we are doing in this space. Well, how is it relevant for us?
Oh, I was rather curious to hear from others too, Eric.
Yes, I'm trying to unmute people first. If you're online, you can unmute yourself by pressing your microphone button.
First answer, Eric, on that question.
Yes.
Is in any project related to the Internet of Things could be mentioned, because I think a lot of them actually will change our city. So without putting a mark on it saying it's a smart city project. So if you are, for instance, connecting cars, and there's projects that we are doing that, you are changing the city by that fact, which is different than you could also define the market of smart cities in So a city wants to put money in, to change the city, and then it's a smart city project. I know in Belgium, Paul Poelmans is doing work on smart cities. I've been working on a tender for the European funded tender on smart cities too last week. So that's what I'm aware of. But
okay, I saw Patrick Marquet from Toulouse. Give a little comment. Maybe you can describe a little bit for the people. I've unmuted you, so maybe if you speak, we can actually hear you. Oh, he's muted himself. Back again. All right, but he says a simple but useful and very interesting application we can develop in a generic way is from a recent demand from our prospect. It's about localization of infrastructure incidents by citizens involved in the life in the city. So that's very close to the city as a platform, I would feel. I think in general, if I look at things, it's very much in the high tech. It breeds in the high tech division that we have, but it could easily blend over into, I don't know, banking and transportation and insurance and God knows what other verticals. If you really say the vertical boundaries are fading, would you say it touches every client of ours, or is there some clients that will not have to deal with Internet of Things in general?
Well, I think every client, if you just imagine, let's talk about paying with your smartphone, for instance, which is an Internet of Things thing. So you walk into a shop, you just take stuff that you want to buy, and you leave the store. This scenario, and as soon as you leave the store, you've paid. So I think and then the whole concept of a store can change if this process is applied, and the role of cities can change, because it's a lot more easy to get stuff in and to buy stuff. But is it high tech? Is it? It's mobile, I would say first, and it's cloud. You need to do analytics. So I'm not, and that's the other part of saying if the verticals are doing crossover, we are doing crossovers too, and we should as a company.
Yep.
You can't say I think you can't just say it's high tech.
Yep. Casper has from the United States has an interesting question: is do we see cities or city government building infrastructure for this, or is this all private investment? Is this going to be commercial companies developing the platforms for Internet of Things, or is the government going to provide this infrastructure and, I don't know, make their city or country the most competitive place when it comes to Internet of Things?
Governments, I think, they try to get the investments in. That's what they do. I know from some cities here in the Netherlands that it's a very difficult game they're in, because everybody's looking at everybody, and so they're pushing it, and of course the telecom or the telcos play an important role. And then the second part was, what can they do to accelerate or make their city more competitive? So what do you mean with more competitive? So what they try to do, a lot of cities try to go after these prizes. So there's a lot of prizes to win for the smarter city. So there's also a lot of smart city marketing. I'm not sure whether it's very useful. When you talk with cities, they all want to have the prize. But in the end, of course, you want the technology to work and to actually change your city itself.
All right. Is this going to be, I don't know, 10% of our business in the coming years? Is this going to be 50% of our business, or is this going to be in everything we do? We don't prepare questions, people. I'm really putting Menno on the spot here, so I'm interested to hear his answer.
Please do. It will impact our clients. So, so banks, for instance, and I gave you the example. If there are other players who are in control of how you pay in the city, and banks are not, for instance, if that will be the scenario, then it will impact our future. So there are many layers there are many ways to talk about the impact of smart cities and how it will relate to the revenue or the business of Sogeti. Because you could argue all our clients will have impact from.
So on the phone, you can unmute yourself. If you're online, just press your microphone icon. If you're on the phone, you can press *6, I think, to unmute. Or you can ask them in the chat window that we have been using so far. It works pretty well. A question here from Jos from Groningen. He says, is it an idea, or is it likely that Sogeti could or would develop products, or would we still be hired to create a product through the client? So do you think Internet of Things presents an opportunity for Sogeti to start selling other things as well?
I do think so. So we are now, and I'm very optimistic that we are now seeing the start at that, and we have some basic technology from, this morning I was in call with David Escoffier in France. Basic technology to connect many things in the city, and from that basic technology, we will be better at selling smart city solutions. And the same accounts for, we have some examples in connecting cars and services for that, which will also become more important. The market of smart cities, though, is weird, or a little bit strange to grasp, I must say, because that was going back to the earlier question. I think there's a lot of European money where you can work together with other institutes and companies, and I still think that's very interesting, and that's also where David Escoffier worked on, and Paul Poelmans, because it's helping us to create our own services and do R&D for smarter cities. And at the same time using that money, so to say, it makes it possible to realize things that otherwise wouldn't have been possible for us.
And I would have a small question. Jean-Baptiste from Switzerland.
Yep, go ahead.
So thanks very much for the presentation. It's quite good. It's very interesting. And so my question is the following one. Where can we contact you to provide you some POC or some ID where we can share it, and we could really do some small prototype or small things of projects, some concept, and to show it works? That would be, I think, a good start for Sogeti to show outside that what we're able to do, and we are very competent people here to do it. So how can we a bit like make concrete this kind of ideas?
And from what background are you talking? Are you talking about how can we create something to sell? Therefore, you have to connect to the market, obviously. So are you talking from a certain country or Sogeti Global?
So for example, here in Switzerland, I have initiated a big data project with financial aspects. But it might, and I think so, we'll open soon a business on it. But the first things we did was to do POC and to show that, look, we are able to do it, and we're currently doing it. And what we can do after is to customize the solution for customers. But there is already a ground to show that. I think what could be nice, if would be to start a small things, or to share, to put ID together and to do a small, very simple POC project to show around what Sogeti can do and how can Sogeti move on that. And so my question is, should we contact you directly, or is there something already starting on that or already done on that?
Good question. So I think the most concrete connection to your question would be to have David Escoffier in this conversation. As said, he has made I call it a basic technology, an enabler to connect things, and I think that's a really good starting point to create a POC, because we will also need to demonstrate the capacity of SogetiLabs. And we have some IP around that, and it's just starting. So we had this call this morning where in fact David talked about doing a hackathon and get ideas from other SogetiLabs people and SogetiLabs in this concept to create POCs, because that's what we need to take steps to commercialize it. So
yeah, and I think in general, Internet of Things is really going to be a push towards the end of this year, the beginning of next year, also commercially and in our services. So I expect that we will have more interaction about this. So I see in the questions here to have ideas of, can we have a platform where we can share things, or what type of services can we develop, or how can we do a proof of concept? Jos says, well, I have there already a proof of concept for sharing ideas, blah, blah, blah. There are lots of discussions that we can and should have, and I think Team Park for now is our logical place to gather. The SogetiLabs community would allow you to have discussions and conversations, but what we're really looking for is for people to stand up and say, I want to push this, I want to help advance this, I have an idea there. And then we can really connect you either to the marketing engine, or we can help hunt for funding, and we can beg with our partners, we can attach your initiative to whatever high tech is doing or what David is doing. There was ideas of doing like a demo lab in different countries, or a traveling demo lab where we can show how different devices work together and how they can interact. So there are many ideas that we can have, but in the end, it comes down to people who want to sort of show their passion and who can share their ideas around it.
Sorry, I fully understand that, and I'm completely agree. It has to be based on individuals that want to move forward. On my side, I was very interested by what has been said about shops, just to go in and get out and pay automatically. That's just an example. But on my side, I'm working on personal project on smart watches. With all smart watches can change the way to buy, the way to act in the city. And I think, yes, I will get in contact with David and share with him small idea, and I will see if it can move to something, or if we can start to do something, or I don't know. But anyway, thank you for this contact, and I will for sure contacting him soon.
Right. I feel a lot of appetite for doing things with this. So Menno, what would you like people to do based on this report? So this report, we want things with that. What would you like to ask people who are in this call?
Well, I very much like this idea of creating POCs and solutions, because I think that's where that will drive the energy, Eric. So of course, I would love you to share it with other SogetiLabs colleagues, with clients, etc. That's obvious, or Twitter about it, whatever. But I'm much more excited about the idea of creating some process around ideas of creating smartness, and but I've said that already. I think that this technology thing of David could be the right trigger to start that creativity.
Yep. All right.
But then talk about what it is, and then that would be another talk. But I really see those things very much related and connected.
Yep. So I do feel that we should have an action item on our side, that we open at least a logical page on SogetiLabs community where we can direct people where they can land with their ideas and where they can find each other. So So we'll set that up for sure and make sure there's a follow-up email where people are pointed to the recording of this and invited to that discussion there, so that we can continue that. Now, before we hang up, I know that you're starting up a different series of reports on Design to Disrupt, where we would probably like some interaction as well. Can you give like a 2-minute elevator pitch of this new topic and how SogetiLabs people could get engaged in that?
Well, the simple version would be how to engage is we are really seeking conversations with clients. So a role of anyone in SogetiLabs could be to connect us and talk with clients about this topic, because what we are doing now is yes, we are writing the reports, but this is I would say this is so important for clients. The whole idea that innovation in itself is speeding up, and there's exponential possibilities for growth for organizations that really understand the different ways of the use of the technologies. And there's a lot of, I would say, there's a lot of stuff around. This is not a very good pitch, I know, but the pitch is love to connect with clients in countries. So if you're working for clients, if they are looking for ways to do more innovation, please connect us to them. That's the message.
Yeah, and I think we have, so there's around Design to Disrupt is really about the disruption and radical acceleration. And there's already an executive intro and a summit report that's going to be sent around. We will also send it to SogetiLabs fellows and members. And we can come to countries and do local events or local workshops with customers, or we can do a series of interviews. We very much like to talk to customers about what they are seeing in disruption, how they're dealing with it, the opportunities they see in it, and the threats, and how they try to counter those. So if you want to be involved in this research, I would say raise your hand, go to talk to a customer and introduce us there, and in general just keep an eye on what's coming out of the team and provide feedback and suggestions. Because it's really a big theme. It connects well into our verticals. It connects well into what our practices are doing. So I would say expect a lot in this space.
I put it on Theme Park a week ago or something. The report itself.
Yep. Yeah. So I'll send out an email that we're going to send out to salespeople. We'll also send it out to the labs fellows, so that we can do that. And yeah, we'll make that work. All right, thank you, Menno. A great topic. I think a great topic that we've done in our last report. I think we have a great thing coming in our next report. Any other comments by people? Things we want to talk about, discuss? Any last minute questions or redirects? Menno, any final closing comments?
No, I'm looking at the questions now. I'll follow up on some of that I see from people.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ideas coming past in the chat box, so we'll make sure that we make note of those and do something there. So. All right. Thank you very much for spending 50 minutes of your time with us. And we have another one planned soon, I think already next week. So please dial in again. We'll send you a reminder with the exact topic of that one, because I can't recall by heart. Maybe Charlie can fill me in there very briefly while he's on mute. And otherwise, you will see it in your email. And look forward to seeing you again next week or whenever the next one is. So thank you very much. And see you all soon.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.